One UI 8.5 is bringing about some pretty drastic visual changes. Today, I'm going to compare the settings menu from One UI 8 to One UI 8.5. Welcome back to SamMobile TV. You're here with Daniel. And with new software, it's always good to dive deep into the nitty-gritty. In the last few weeks, I've broken down things from One UI 8.5, things like the difference to the quick panel, some app changes that have been made, and now today is going to be the settings. The settings menu, I guess, is something that with One UI, Samsung kind of haven't really tweaked a lot of since it first came out. And it's not as if they've drastically changed much here, but there's some subtle changes that I think will make really good use of how to access and how to utilize it. The first thing you immediately notice when looking at the settings side by side is how much less clutter there is with One UI 8.5 versus One UI 8. It's the first thing I can see. And the reason why it's less cluttered is because Samsung have removed the text descriptions from each menu item. So you can see connections used to say Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, SIM manager. Now it doesn't say anything. And it pretty much does that, well, it does do that the entire way through. It's made it more compact. It's made it quicker to scroll from top to bottom. And it just gives that feeling of not being cramped. By now, the headings are pretty self-explanatory as to what it is. Modes and routines, for example, you don't need a separate menu item that says modes.routines. Like, you know what that is. Same with sounds and vibrations. You can kind of figure out that that's going to be ringtone and sound related. And to mitigate that change that Samsung have implemented, Samsung have made it easier to search. So the search bar now gets dragged down to the bottom instead of up here in that corner, which means it's actually way easier to reach one-handed. It still, as of now, looks to be the same sort of search options, but the fact that it's now just going to be easy to find or easy to search means that if you miss having these options here, so you know where's what, if you know, we'll just start that again. If you miss having these options here, so you know where everything is and what menu item has what thing, then at least the search icon's easier to utilize. That pill-shaped search icon too kind of goes to what Samsung have been doing with One UI 8.5, where everything is kind of in that pill-shaped look. There's also some visual animation changes too. Now, animations are barely, I guess, a blip on my radar, but I know that people do care about it. But this is one that I think Samsung had to do. And it's to do with how it sort of blurs out when you're scrolling. So when you scroll to the bottom here, or as you're sort of scrolling, you can see up here it sort of just cuts it off and gives you this unnecessary settings icon, menu header, and the search icon. That's wasted space. Whereas here, Samsung have now just gradiently blurred the top and the bottom and kept the search icon on top of mind so you can always access it, but it's also not taking up too much screen real estate. And it's kind of seamlessly just transitions into it as well and just looks cleaner. And I think that will make a difference to how you use settings because it's visually not going to be as cluttered or as messy or as distracting. And I just think it's just going to look better. And then within the settings that Samsung have done here, there's been some UI changes in specific menus as well. For example, Samsung Dex. Now, the change that they made here with One UI 8 is so bland. The visuals that they had for One UI 7 just disappeared, and they just gave it this really bland description. And I think for people that are visual, that's really difficult to comprehend. That's a lot of text there, and it doesn't show you what it's doing. Whereas here, on One UI 8.5, you can see it gives you that visual back. So you can see that it's meant to be connected to a bigger display and give you that windowed desktop experience. That, for me, just makes way more sense as to what they had before. Much prefer what they've done here. There's also a new toggle within Samsung Dex that I should highlight here, the command plus arrows to move windows. For some strange reason, that was removed with One UI 8's Dex. You couldn't use the keyboard shortcut to go left and right to snap a window left and right. Now it's a toggle that has been brought back. And I might revisit a full video on Samsung Dex. Let me know if you want that in the comments. But fortunately, Samsung haven't just stopped there. They've changed some of the visuals of some of the other big menu items as well. So if you go into battery here, you can see it now gives you a much sort of cleaner visual. They've reduced the clutter. So the big 1 day, 14 hours left. kind of doesn't have to be that big. You've got your battery percentage and you've got how long over here. It's kind of just concised everything down to be a little bit more streamlined. And then some of the visuals as well also make more sense. And they've moved some of the menu items a bit lower and sort of reorganized everything. It's not a huge change, but it's just enough that you can sort of get some different visuals and different menu items and different charts as to what it is you might be using with your battery. And that same sort of visual change extended out into device care. Device care, they've always gone with these like fun sort of icons, but now they're gone. So now it's just, again, streamlined. It's not like it doesn't look good. I like the fact that they've got the green that sort of moves away like in a sort of, what's that word called? It's like blended out. That's the only one I got right now in my head. And then everything else, again, streamlined. You can see much easier, like your storage. It just looks better for me. Not that I hate One UI 8. I just feel this looks more sophisticated, looks more high-end versus this one, which looks a little bit less premium. And the last one in here that Samsung changed is the quick share menu. It's very similar to how it was before because you can see the ready to receive animation looks very similar. It's a little bit less sharp over here. And you can see at the top there, you've got, rather than you'll appear as, it just says your name. And then down the bottom, that whole sort of pill-shaped appearance that you've been seeing in the other elements from the other video I made, you can see that has also changed as well. The send screen also has changed. When you go into select files, it's the same, but you can see the pill-shaped makes an appearance there. But just the way it sort of showcases sort of recent items that you might want to share on the screen looks a lot better. And again, that you'll share as disappears too. It just has cleaned up the whole thing and looks a lot nicer. We may as well send and receive something. So let's send over this one. So many things in here. Let's send that over. That's the receive screen. And then if we do the send screen for this one, whoopsie daisy, let's just send that file back, shall we? Where are we? S25 Edge. Oh, good. Let's try that again. You can see the receive screen changed. The send screen hasn't really, but definitely the receiving icon looks a lot better than what that was. So that is One UI 8.5 versus One UI 8 with the settings differences and what has changed. See if we can continue this series for things like maybe Samsung DeX. Won't be much in the camera at the moment because it's a very early build, but we'll see what else we can dive deep into. So make sure you hit subscribe to SamMobile TV. Go check us out on our website. Go check us out on our socials, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.